Hello, my name is Karen Marie. I'm a professional psychic and musician. My business name is Psyched Up. The purpose of this video is to give you a background history into myself, my music, and my psychic work. This is the second video I've made for my new YouTube channel, so please like, subscribe, share. I'm also posting this on Facebook, so do the same there. Please be appreciative of your feedback and comments. Today's date is January 17th, 2019, and the purpose of this video is to give a background history of myself as a psychic and as a musician. So my mom is a piano teacher, so I was born into music. My earliest memories are of the piano and of music being around me. In fact, my favorite childhood memory is lying underneath her Steinway grand piano as she played it. So I had lots of power struggles with her as a small child around practicing the piano, but I'm so grateful to my mother for giving me a strong foundation in music and the piano background. I picked up the flute when I was 11. I sang my first solo in church when I was 12. Began to pick up the guitar in high school and college, and that's when I started writing music after I picked up the guitar. So that's sort of a background history of how I got started with my music. In terms of my psychic work, I've been a professional psychic for 31 years. I started doing readings for the public professionally in 1988. And I'm asked all the time, did I have psychic experiences as a child? Did I know I was psychic growing up? And I didn't. I had deja vu experiences every now and then where I would feel like something was familiar or someone was familiar. I had a couple prophetic dreams when I was a teenager of things that were happening somewhere else, and I dreamt about it. And in hindsight, like after I'd started learning about psychic abilities, I realized I was super empathic my whole life and soaking up the feelings of the people around me. I didn't know I was doing that. It would have been very helpful to know that that's where some of my stuff was coming from, was picking up everybody else's feelings. I didn't know that growing up. So I grew up with the story. My mother came to UT to get a degree in piano pedagogy, and she went to a psychic named Madame Hipple, who had been around in Austin for the longest time. Madame Hipple told her that she would meet a man named Bob in a uniform and see the world. So I grew up with that story, how a psychic had accurately predicted my mom, who married my dad, named Bob, who was in the army when she married him. And they moved to Germany, which is where I was born, and saw Europe and lots of other places in the world. So that was an accurate reading that my mother had received from a psychic. And so she told that story often when I was growing up. So I had a positive experience around the idea and the concept of psychics from an early age. I went to Madame Hipple myself when I came to UT as a college student in 1981. That was my first ever psychic reading. I don't remember much of what Madame Hipple told me. She was really old at the time and hard to understand, but I do remember she told me to be careful on motorcycles, and I had a serious moped accident when I was in college. That's the only connection I remember from that. The second psychic I went to see was a palm reader, and she looked at my palm and she said, "You have a mystic cross in your palm. That means you're going to make your living doing psychic work." I was 19 and a business major at UT. This did not compute. I walked out of there thinking, she's nuts. I don't know what, I don't remember what she told me, but that just kind of blew my little stack. Then I went to a little psychic fair on the UT campus and sat down in front of Cheryl Starrett, who began to channel from my father, who had passed of a suicide when I was 15. Now, she would have no way of knowing that my father was dead, much less the details that she was channeling from him that were so accurate. And I felt like in that 20-minute reading, she just laid my life open in a way that usually took me 6 months in therapy to get to that point. So that really validated how powerful and healing a psychic reading could be. That reading really fundamentally changed me, I have to say. So then I thought, I'm going to see some more psychics. So I went to another psychic fair that was off campus short time after that and sat down with 3 different psychics, every one of which said, "You have such strong abilities yourself. You should be doing readings for me. You're going to be a psychic." Again, these messages from the psychics about being so psychic. So I walked away from that psychic fair going, well, if I'm so psychic that all the psychics are going on to it, then I should be able to access that and develop it and tap in. So I went and bought a deck of tarot cards, started trying to do readings, and I knew that if I was psychic, then I shouldn't need the definitions in the back of the deck that went with the deck of cards. But I was still struggling. I wasn't getting anything. And one day I was living in an apartment. My neighbors from either side of me were over visiting. The topic of the tarot cards came up, and one of my neighbors said, "So you doing readings?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm trying to. Supposedly I'm psychic." And she said, "Well, maybe it's you don't have the right deck. I've got some decks. Would you like to look at mine?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then my other neighbor said, "Yeah, me too." So what are the odds, right? So one neighbor brought back 4 decks, the other brought back 3. It was amongst those decks that I picked up the first deck that I started working with. It was a non-traditional tarot deck. And once again, I decided not to use the book that went along with the deck, and I was just seeking to get the information myself, playing around with them, doing readings for friends. I came up with my own layout, and just, I don't know, my intention was to not struggle over what a card meant. So if I got a strong hit, that's what I call it, I would go with it. And then if I didn't, I just passed over it. So around this same time, I also went to a psychic who did a past life regression for me. And when she regressed me back, not only did I see a couple of my past lives, but it seemed to open up this door or portal. Ever since then, I've been able to get past life information, both for myself and other people. So that was a profound early experience in my psychic career development. So back to my doing readings for friends and friends of friends. And my apartment was a hang pad anyway for my boyfriend and mine at the time's combined circle of friends. So I had lots of guinea pigs around. One day a friend brought a friend over I didn't know at all. And I was sitting in front of her, and I'm still at this time trying to see spirit guides. I'm trying to see auras. I was having no success at that whatsoever. Now I know we're all psychic, and our abilities and gifts show up in different ways. Just like we can all see, hear, taste, and touch, I believe we all have intuitive abilities. And for some of us, the volume is just turned up really loud. Others, the volume's turned down and off. And everybody's psychic abilities show up in different ways. So not everybody has the same information coming to them. For example, after I started doing readings professionally, my 10-year-old daughter came home one day, and I had been at a psychic fair, had taken a picture of what my aura was supposed to look like. She comes and picks up the Polaroid off the table, and then she looks at me and she looks at the picture. She looks at me and she looks at the picture, and she tosses it back down on the table and says, "You've got a lot more blue in your aura than this picture." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, hold up. Do you see auras?" And she's like, "Yeah, don't you?" Like, "No." So anyway, that's just a side note of how abilities show up different for everybody. So back to this reading I'm doing for a friend of a friend. I all of a sudden and there's this electric energy that starts moving through me. My hair on my arms and my face are standing up. And not in the cards do I see, but I just know that this woman sitting in front of me was sexually molested by her father. Now, these readings are for fun. I'm struggling within myself. Do I even say this? No, I don't say this. And I'm like, as I'm struggling whether or not to even say what I'm getting, she's looking at me going, What are you getting? So I said, "You know what? I want to apologize to you before I even say this, because I don't know where this is coming from." But then I told her what I was getting, and her eyes just got huge, and she burst into tears, and she said, "How did you know that?" And I'm just looking at the hair on my arms and feeling it on my face, and I don't know. I just know that I'm on to something here. So that was my first vivid realization that I was channeling. And I didn't know where the information was coming from. I liken it to tuning a radio station in the dark. So say you're trying to find a station, the lights are off, and between stations it's all, and when you get on a station, it's a clear signal, it comes through. That's the closest thing I can think about to give you an analogy of what it's like when channeled information comes through. I just know it. I just feel it. It's moving through me from something else, and it's always right on accurate. So after that experience, I went to a party at my next door neighbor's house, and one of his friends came up to me and said, "Hey, I heard you do psychic readings. Would you do one for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I went next door, got my deck of tarot cards, came back, sat down, did a reading for him, and then everybody else that lined up to get their readings for the next 4.5 hours. Everybody going, "Oh my God, that's so, oh, how did you know?" Really giving me lots of great positive feedback for the readings they were getting. But after 4.5 readings of doing that for free, I got up and said, "All right, that's it. I'm not doing this for free anymore. Obviously, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Let me explore this. So at the time, there was an organization called the Central Texas Parapsychology Association, or CTPA for short. They sponsored readings at the New Age Bookstore, which used to be located right next to Ray Henning's Music on South Lamar, for any of those old Austinites that remember that, and as well as sponsoring psychic fairs. So in order to be a reader with CTPA, you had to try out and do readings for at least 2 other psychics, which was intimidating, but I did that. And at age 24, started doing readings for the public at the New Age Bookstore, at psychic fairs. I think the first psychic fair I did 54 readings in a 2-day period, so initiation by fire. And then over the years, it's been word of mouth, referrals. I was the Central Texas Parapsychology Association president and chairman of the board in the late 90s, and I also had a radio talk show on what was at the time called KJFK on 98.9 FM. It was a all-talk format radio station, and I had a show called Psyched Up on Sunday evenings that backed up to Art Bell's show, where I interviewed other psychics and astrologers and mediums, took phone calls from listeners and gave little mini readings over the air. So I pulled out of all those professional gigs in 1999 when I went through my second divorce and became a single mom of 5. I'm also a homeschool mom, so I've been doing my work part-time on the side the whole time I've been doing readings, focusing on raising my children. So now I'm down to a 15-year-old left in the nest, and the rest of my kids are 21 and up, and I finally have the time to focus on my career. So that's what I'm doing now. That's why this latent blooming of my YouTube channel, and I just got my website up and running last year, which is KarenMariePsychic.com, by the way. So that's kind of how I got started, got into the work. So I'm going to play a song for you that I wrote right after, I guess I wrote it in my mid-20s. I'd been doing readings professionally a couple years, and I was thinking about, God, it'd be really great if I could go to myself for a reading. Not only that, could I go to myself for a reading like when I'm in my 90s and I have a lot of wisdom and things to share? So that was the idea I was chewing on when I wrote this song called The Vision. So I think it's the song that perfectly combines my psychic work and my music together. So here you go. Hope you like it. I saw her there with silver hair, a ring upon her hand that had seen more than 50 years of wear. She smiled at me, acknowledging the reason I was there. I traveled oh so far, made a wish upon a star, and I have found my dreams led me to you. I come from a place where fear has ruled my life. Big obstacles loom out and seem to clip my wings from flight. Can you tell me, will I break these karmic chains? And she said, follow your heart and know your desires will come true for you. It's hard to see now, but life has abundance to pour out to you. I searched her eyes to see the truth of what she knew. Here sat a one who'd seen my lifetimes 3. And she said, be easy with yourself, relax. Slow down, take one day at a time. Commitment to your path is all you need to see your dreams come true. I looked at her eyes the same as mine. I saw what I would look like over time. I saw her there with silver hair, a ring upon her hand that had seen more than 50 years of wear. She smiled at me, acknowledging the reason I was there. I traveled oh so far, made a wish upon a star, and I have found my dreams will all come true. And she said, I know that love will flow through you. Thank you for your long attention. Again, I'd love for you to subscribe to my new YouTube page. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at KarenMariePsychic.com. Have a great day.